Greetings, my fellows! Justin Alemani Dolan Connor Tyson Makuria Camerusius Tipton Rengar Victoria Baba Questra Pinastone Severin Nolan Calgra Fishing around Dodecahedron Aswell Greed Crop Restricted Zola Company Mada Works Multicorrect Brev 2 Meaningless Repeat Transylvania United Diff Martin Skinwalker 7. Fuck this bit, dude, god damn it. Here. And welcome to our first dev diary for covering all the nations present at game start. Now, while I will clarify some things as I go through for the Victoria only crowd, and frankly a part of the Genshin crowd as well, I am writing this assuming at least some knowledge of Garingo Gangoranging and Gengering Gangagam, with the start date for each nation being the end of their Archon quests and any other relevant side quests. So if something starts sounding like Hungarian to you, you'll have to play Genshin Impact. And speaking of playing Genshin Impact, I haven't. Not all of it. Bygone on all of it. I spend most of my days exploring every corner of Mondstadt. Not whatever this shit is. So if I forget, don't know, or get anything wrong, I am begging you, correct me in the fucking comments, I swear to God! And subscribe while you're down there as well. Now, our nation can be split up into 4 categories. The main 7, main 7-2 Electric Boogaloo, and the Hilichurl states. The main 7 nations are kind of self-explanatory for their inclusion, so let's begin with the 2 belows, the Eremite Authority and the Watatsumi regime. The Eremite Authority is probably the most debatable of the 2 for its inclusion, but here's how I'm thinking. Since like a month ago, the academia couldn't give less of a rat's ass about actually supporting the desert's population. So what happens to those willing to follow government jurisdiction when that government's only response is fuck you, nuh-uh, specifically in a Reddit comment? Well, practically they function on their own, even under de jure Sumerian rule. Now that the government in Sumeru City is, well, sane, now it's time to address this whole mess. They are not planned to be mere content fodder for Sumeru proper, as I am genuinely interested in further exploring Eremite content. So if you're more knowledgeable on Eremite lore, or I suppose Arab culture in general, do message me in the Discord server. Honestly, this counts for every nation. I'm smart, but I'm smart enough to know where I'm not smart. Anyways, the Watatsumi regime. We're moving on from racism to imperialism. As if those two things are ever far apart. For the same reason as the Eremite Authority, since the piece is still young, it is up to you to mend the relationship between the government and Inazuma proper. The major difference here is that instead of ethnic differences, we have ideological differences. The main question here is if the shogun can be trusted to lead the nation after leaving them to be led by ChatGPT for 500 years. On to the Hilichurl nations, and can I just say this? Yeah, this right here, this is one of, if not my favorite corners of the entire map. Because it is so wonderful in its casualness. Now, fairly big spoilers ahead for the lore of the Hilichurls. If you're not fully caught up with the Dingsliff quests, skip this part. But the Hilichurls are a race of mutated, disfigured, immortal, ruined people left with a language impossible to understand, sent back to the Stone Age because their nation had gotten a little bit naughty for the liking of the giant super god city casually floating in the sky. For 500 years of constant, mild to absolute torture on a continent, in a world so vehemently set on ruining their every moment, here's a genuine, actual, proper Hilichurl community, not just overtly connected, but if we continue down the road here, I can't scream too loudly, because it's 11 AM, so like just imagine I'm screaming at the top of my lungs here. Here stands proud a Hilichurl tower with no cross-language communication, just pure fucking vibes. They set up a joint protection program so both the Hilichurls and humans may exist together The game's good, guys. So, what do we get here? Well, this is a two-way street. So, what do the Hillagers get out of pushing that safe space all the way here? It gives them access to this here domain, the Valley of Remembrance. Now, for anyone new, domains are the main spot for statistics and level up materials that, coincidentally, also drop some of the maddest lore in game. The Forsaken Rift and the Valley of Remembrance have the same gimmick, I guess, of hiding / storing ancient past forbidden knowledge, which we all know how well that went last time. To go over everything again, we have a well-organized, fucking chill like that, Fort of Hillagers, overtly involved and actively pursuing these two massive pools of knowledge in parallel with Distillation Nation. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, the nation which remembers. This here is my child, this is my baby. I love them, and developing their content will be absolute peak, I can tell you that much. The other of Marnsad's adopted kids is the United Tribes. This corner of the map in-game is by far and away the biggest concentration of Hillagers and Hillager structures on the map. If a hilly nation exists anywhere, it's here. From there we add the fact that the Gorge got to keep what looks to be its Hillager name, this commission that is just blatantly helping them out, and the generally friendlier attitude of Monstanders to the Menace in the Mask, I have elected to prop them on the map. The last two aren't quite as complicated. They're both islands off the coast that I struggle to believe Leeway could hold on to. Except, and this is probably the most out there side tangent, but this is already a mess of a video, so hear me out. The map as we see in game is not as it is in canon. Otherwise it would fit within fucking Connecticut and everyone would ask why all the buildings look the same. Major POIs are more, what was the term? Life size? I'm only used to hearing that for plushies. So by that logic, should this fort be counted as small on a far larger island? Or is the island itself part of the POI? Honestly, not sure. I've decided to add them because of a rule I like to call Occam's sword, which is that when a writer is faced with an ambiguous situation in canon, it is fair to assume that they're gonna go with the most interesting option. Another random Leewin island is not as interesting as fucking Hillichan Falklands, so I've decided to make them independent. However, if proper evidence is brought up, I might take them out. Like, I don't think this corner of the map has received any kind of content since like 2.6? I think there was an event or something here, not a clue. I also wanted to add them partially because I wanted a piss poor nation with no strings attached. Poorest in the world to an island paradise. I mean, the clickbait writes itself, you know. One last thing on this section. There are many other Hillager gatherings. However, I didn't think they were organized enough, from what I've seen at the very least, to merit being on the map day one. Though they may receive special content for if they pop out throughout the game. If you think there's any other significant tribe I should have added, once again, feel free to mention them in the comments. And that is the map at game start.
Except no! Hello everybody, popular YouTuber and media personality Just703 here, with a giant cut across my lip, so this is gonna be fun as hell to record. I completely forgot to mention Fort Furdagan, which is these guys. By the way, the nation I'm talking about so far is Yaoyue Island. Yeah, so Fort Furdagan is basically in the same situation as Yaoyue, but they're based. That's about all I can say in a concise 30-second 2 AM recording. So see you all when I make that dev diary. It'll probably be either the first or the second, depending on how much I feel to do Marstad. So yeah, By the way, I'm recording and editing this a day before the ModCon performance. So yeah, see y'all there, I guess. Oh my god, I'm dying.
As for the actual content for these nations, the individual dev diaries for those coming up in 0.7 are already up. So go watch them, I guess. I have no idea how to start and no idea how to end videos. I've noticed that, like, as a pattern. I wrote pattern in the script instead of pattern. I noticed that as like a pattern with me. So yeah.